Good morning. Of course, the camera was fine, but now it's being a piece of shit. So hold on 1 minute. Shouldn't be long. I had it all set up last night. Looks like the mic levels might be high. If you guys can let me know how the mic sounds in the meantime, that would be great. Promise this shouldn't take long. I don't understand this. Everything was fine. Of course. I'm sorry, guys. Just bear with me a minute. Literally just fixed this. Alright, now it's all messed up. Alright, well. Oh, that's why. Okay. Come on, come on. Alright, that should fix it. Just bear with me one more moment, guys. Oh man, I can't stand this shit, man. That was the whole reason the stream was delayed a few minutes anyways. Okay, there we go. Let me just switch this a little bit. Okay. Take the low light out of there. Okay. Okay. All right. Welcome to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Okay. So today, I want to go over this man's pre-birth memory testimony. It's really, it's amazing. You will hear, I mean, I'm going to do the commentary as it goes along, but just to give you a quick brief thing on it. He has these memories of coming to Earth and not wanting to come back, and he's being tricked by this one specific entity the entire time, and I'm not even going to really give it away because we just got to listen to it. It's going to blow you away. But everything that he says is going against his own intuition. You can tell. At one point, he even cries, and you can feel that this story that he's telling has some legs. I don't think he's bullshitting, and it kind of just goes along with everything else that we see with the whole things with near-death experiences, reincarnation stuff, and out-of-body experience accounts, DMT interactions too, to some degree. It's all kind of the same stuff. Of course, there's different things, but you see these similarities with all these things, and it's really incredible. So let's just 1 second. So we're gonna get right into it. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure the audio seems fine, but the level seemed a little high, so I wasn't sure. Okay, so let's get right to it. I have got a lot to say on this, and I'll be doing commentary as it goes along, and feel free to put your perspective in there. I'm really curious what all you guys think too, and yeah, it's really, I found myself getting upset, like, at the screen at some point, just because of how insane it was. So let's get going.
I had clear memory of my time before I was physical, before I was this human character. And I thought everybody did, and nobody talked about it. So I didn't talk about it. But I used to draw upon that memory very commonly as a small child and kind of cheat a little bit, because I'd seen ahead of time what my life would be like. So I was kind of like always peeking around the curtain to get an idea of what to expect. But that memory left me at about the age of 6 or 7 for sure. And so I had no memory of that at all for most of my adult life.
Surprisingly, him saying it's been said by a number of people where they have this recollection of these pre-birth memories at a very young age. It kind of goes in place with reincarnation cases that are verifiable, where the kids have these memories of living in, Scotland and, wherever, and they're able to describe the house, the family, blah, blah. And then when you have researchers come in and take a look at it, they're able to verify it. Anyways, just really quickly. And then sometimes, a lot of times the brain, the brain of a child, the development of a child is in a theta state from birth to about the age of 6, I think. So they're just constantly taking in everything, and they're more familiar with probably what they were doing previously, but they're also intaking everything as they go along, so that's how their perception is shifted and changed. So I think these memories dissipate, and I also really think because they are in the theta state most of that time, that everything is being molded around them. So they're losing their old self, so to say, and their new self and identity is coming into play. But then some sort of traumatic event may occur, and that triggers this memory. Or sometimes people will do regression, which I know it's legitimate, but unless I really know the person, it's really tough for me to sign on to past life regression when I'm listening to these things on YouTube. That's just me. I'm not saying that they're not legitimate, but okay, so let's just keep going. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I grew up with kind of a standard, environment, and I learned what I was taught and all the rest of that. And so then my 20s, I went through a traumatic experience, which I had signed up for before I had come. And so I went through that experience, and I did a lot of healing from that traumatic experience. And then at the age of 30, I began a long-term meditation practice. And much to my surprise, I began to have non-physical experiences, out-of-body experiences. And I also began to have this memory return to me of choosing to come, and my time immediately preceding this life. And when those memories returned, it was like, oh my gosh, like this is.
See, I think it's really important that we understand. He said choosing to come. Okay, remember, we're making this decision, unfortunately.
The most natural thing in the world. How did I ever forget this? Like it's just like right there. But I'd forgotten, because I've been so physically focused, so tied into all the labels and all the identity and all the rest. So I felt actually for some number of years that I shouldn't speak about it. I felt like the timing just was not right. But a couple of years ago, I felt, okay, the time is right. There's enough people ready now that we can talk about this. And so I did share. I shared with Mira Kelly, who is a wonderful woman. And I shared in a couple other places. And it's gotten an amazing response. I've met amazing people. Like almost every day I'm meeting new people, and it's just been an amazing process. So I'll share, and anybody please do interrupt. Any thoughts or questions or ideas? This conversation is fluid. Everyone here is a master in their own right. So we're all in dialogue with one another. So I'm just gonna recount my experience, and then anybody who wishes to interject, please do so. Okay, so before I start, I just got to say that this kind of stuff is like impossible to talk about. Who we truly are is beyond form. We are non-physical being. We are consciousness itself, non-physical, and within the non-physical arises the world of form, arises things, objects, experiences, and words. And words then can't speak to that higher nature because they are form themselves. They're symbols. There's no words I can just say that could possibly even remotely touch the other side or these experiences. I just have to make that really big disclaimer to start. Okay, so that being said, I remember a very long time ago, and again, these experiences all, okay, so they have a sequence. These experiences have a sequence, but they also are kind of happening all at once. Even now, I feel like these memories are happening now. They're not so much in the, I mean, they are in the past, and yet they're simultaneously now. I don't know how to describe that, but so my earliest memory is before I had ever been physical, coming across a being who had been physical, a very powerful, beautiful being. And I was completely overwhelmed by the quality of his nature, by who he was. He was just so beautiful and full of joy and power, so much potential and amazingness. And I was amazed by the quality of his nature, his essence. And I asked him, and again, this is telepathic because there's, it's on the other side. Oh my goodness, how did you do this? Like, look at what you are. And he shared with me that he had been a physical, and he shared with me specifically one life that he had suffered with a very difficult physical ailment. I don't know what it was, but some kind of pain or long-term suffering. And the way that he met that experience was incredibly powerful. And he expanded in an incredible way because of this experience. And I asked him, were you healed all the way? Like, because I saw how like damaged he had been. And he shared with me like, yes. And I kind of sensed like the depth of like this, this damage of being physical that he'd experienced and how he had healed all of it. And this amazing expansion that had taken place within him. And I said, I want to do that. I want to do that. I'm going to do that. And I was so like, I was fired up. I was like totally like committed. And he didn't like quite brush me off, but it was a little bit of like, yeah, that's what they all say. And I was like, no, I'm serious. I want to do that. I'm going to do that. I want to go do that. I want to have that experience. I want to be physical. And he said, well, go talk to your guides. So I did. And that was.
All right. So you can see already that he's giving himself up to a group of entities that are guiding him and telling him, part of his path, so to say. So already we can see where this manipulation is going. So, he probably just recently had died in his previous body. And what ends up happening is really going to blow your mind. He just constantly, and again, if this guy happens to run across this video, I mean no harm. I should have made that clear at the beginning, but I have a very strong view on this, and a lot of people listening have a very strong view on the mechanics of what's going on here. And it's no insult to him whatsoever, and I am not going to put his name out there because I'm not looking to cause him any harm or pushback on anything, because I suspect I don't know. I don't, it's not right to kind of talk about someone's experience like this and, in this type of way that I'm going to, and, him, get upset about it. So that's all. I'm not really looking to cause any problems to him personally in his life. He's got his own journey, and you can tell by the end of this conversation that he knows what he wants, and let's just go. That just needed to be said. But we see the entities already working in the background here.
That was a long time ago, because since then I had many physical lives, and I went back and found him later, and showed him, not showed him, but had a converse with him and kind of shared with him. Okay, see, I'm on the path. I said I was going to do this, and here I'm doing this. Okay, so now I'm going to jump a bit, because there's a lot, but okay, so now I'm going to jump to a bit that's somewhat immediately preceding this life, where I had taken a long break Okay, I had lived many experiences, and I took a long break. I would just decided I was done for a while. I was just not doing a physical thing for a while. I was taking a long break, and I remember this guide coming to me repeatedly, over and over, like, "Are you ready to go back yet? Are you ready to go back yet?" Basically,
Are you ready to go back yet? Are you ready to go back yet? So everything. So he's basically chilling, waiting around, being harassed to come back to Earth. Okay, let's just call it what it is. There's no beating around the bush. This is what's going on. Make of it. You can have your own opinion on this, but mine are very strong. And he is basically being harassed until he incarnates and gets in a damn body.
like reminding me of my own intention and just trying to kind of nudge me back onto the path. And I put him off for a while, and eventually I said, "Okay, I'm ready to go back." And I remember reviewing with him the state of who I was, like what I had done, what I had been, and like all these. This is really hard to. It's really hard to describe. All this stuff's like impossible to describe, but the qualities of what I had been and who I was, and the thing that I needed to work on was obvious. The thing that, and I hate to put it that way, it's not really work on, but I could tell that I had like, it was just very obvious. Like if you look at like a, I don't know, like a report or something, like the one thing like I really needed to work on was like glaring. I was like, oh yeah, I really need to do that. And it involved a fear that I had experienced in one specific life, that in that life, the fear was so profound and so powerful that it drove me to be a very nasty person. I was a very non-helpful person. I damaged many other people. I mean, I say damage, you can't truly, the soul can't truly be damaged. We can't be damaged. But in the life, I had caused a lot of damage because of this fear, and I ended up dying in a very painful, agonizing way. And so I was surprised at how incredibly deep that fear had been for me, how deep that fear that was in me. And so I wanted to re-engage that fear. And
you know, I think the fear aspect that he has going on here is it's what they do. They combine the fear with the love, and they feed and zone in on those so they can take advantage of him. That's the bottom line of how I'm looking at this.
Reviewed this, I knew oh my gosh, the incredible amount of expansion that would be possible if I could do this, if I could meet this fear and integrate this certain energy to this degree. I just knew it would be unspeakably beautiful and powerful if I could do that. But it was, but even then I could see the vibrational distance was so extreme that I remember asking the guide, "Is it even possible? Like, has any other being in creation ever done this? Has any other being ever done something this extreme in this kind of way?" And he said yes. And there's like this encouraging, like, and you have all time to do so. Like there's no hurry. So
there's no hurry as long as you get into a body. That's the goal of these things, these entities. As long you can hang around all you want in their astral world, but as long as you're getting back in a body, they're fine with it.
So I knew, and this sounds kind of, as a human, this sounds kind of alien to me, but at the time, I just knew with complete confidence, if it can be done, I will do it. If it can be done, I will do it. I knew that I had that ability. So with that being said, they brought me a life that was really perfect for this intention of mine. And so I reviewed this life, and it was perfect. It was like almost as good as they get. And I accepted the life, and I accepted the veil. Okay, so the veil of forgetfulness, this process of incarnating, is what I remember the most out of all of this. And that process is very abrupt.
The veil of forgetfulness. If you guys could let me know in the chat if you hear the lawnmower in the background. I do have a cover on the mic, but I hope you guys don't hear the lawnmower. Anyways, yeah, I mean the veil of forgetfulness. When we come here, we lose virtually all of our previous memories of our incarnation and our essence of who we are. Okay? And you're going to be blown away where this all goes. But he's openly talking about it. Openly talking about it.
Shocking. So in this life, I accepted the veil. The veil came over me, and then I was in the womb. But, okay, so when the veil came over me, I felt my knowing be cut off. I felt my vibration plummet from great heights down to the lower and lower, and go lower still, and then lower some more, and keep going lower and lower. And then you finally get there. And when you're there, it's so low, it's ridiculous, and you're cut off. I mean, at least for me, I felt cut off, and I felt like I didn't have that connectedness with other people anymore, other beings anymore. I didn't have my knowing anymore, and it was terrifying. And I wasn't even born yet. I was just in the womb, and I was terrified. And I was only there for a very, very short time. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing this. This is not happening. I mean, this is so ridiculous. This is so low vibration. This is so dark. I am not doing this. And I summoned my might, and I smote the veil. I fought my way out, and I succeeded in doing that. And so I was on the other side again, but I had killed the fetus. I had killed the body that was to be mine, and you know, thinking about it now, even I feel responsible for that. I feel sadness, because when I got to the other side, I had a life review. Even for that very short life, I had a life review, and I remember seeing the mother and all the hundreds of other people that would be negatively impacted. Well, I could feel how I negatively impacted the mother. I heaped more difficulty on her through the sorrow of her loss. And
All right, so you hearing this? This guy is in the womb, wants to bail, and he ends up with a freaking life review, and it's all guilt. It's all, oh, you negatively impacted this one and that one and blah, blah, blah. Think about that. So, I mean, there's even a life review if you decide to bounce in the womb. And it's all guilt tripping. All guilt tripping. This poor guy. I'm telling you, just keep listening.
Also, hundreds of other people then that their lives would be made more difficult because I had made the mother's life more difficult. And I couldn't believe. I was like, it's really hard to describe, but I went in with great intentions. Like, I had all these good intentions. I had this big plan, and then and then my fear was so great that right at the beginning I caused that. And not only did I not succeed in my intention, but I caused the game to be more difficult for the players that I so loved and respected. That was how I'm using metaphors now. It's not quite like that. So I was disappointed. I mean, I knew everything was okay. Everything is on the other side. Everything is well. It's okay. But I was disappointed that I had let that happen. So I decided to, before I attempted this again, because I knew I would want to try again. Before I did that, I practiced accepting the veil, because I didn't want to have that. I didn't want to do that same thing again. So I remember going to this place that can only be described as like, I don't know, a veil acceptance simulator room.
Okay, so I mean, he says it right there, the veil acceptance simulator room. So he's requesting and being aided to have a veil put over him, so he has, very little recollection of his previous existence, so he can charge and make it on through his next incarnation in a body. It's nuts.
It was like a place you go where you practice surrendering to the veil and having your knowing cut off, and feeling separate and dark and alone.
Can you believe it? They actually have this thing set up for people who really don't want to come back here. But we have this room you can go to, and don't worry, we're going to try and help you as best we can to sever that connection. And just think about how powerful it is. Our spirit is. Think about how powerful it is, because they have to really put in a lot of effort to keep this one guy coming back. And he's no exception. We're all here, right? I mean, let's not be stupid. Probably many of us have been through this. Maybe not to the exact same degree, but something's up. Okay, let's continue.
It's kind of like diving into a pool and then seeing how long you can stay underwater, but because this is just a trainer, you can jump back out if you get too scared, but you practice. And I remember practicing, and basically it had to do with my willingness to feel the fear and my willingness to allow and not resist. So after doing that, they brought me this life. And this life was not as optimal as the first one would have been. It was still good. It was quite good. But each life is only so good because the soul, the spirit, is rather complex in what makes it up. And in my case, I just knew I had many qualities, and there's a certain type of my nature, and that nature has to interface with the life somehow, and then that has to work within the context of what you're trying to do, what you want to do. And this life was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. It was good. So I remember reviewing this life in great detail, and reviewing what I can only describe as a vast flow chart, or like a tree of all the things that might or could or would happen in this life. And it started kind of like if you imagine a tree tipped on its side, like thicker trunk, and then it went out to branches, and there's all these some paths were very likely, some paths were a lot less likely. But it wasn't about events. Well, there were definitely events in it, but it wasn't so much about events as how it would feel, how it would be to be that. How will it be to be that person in these different possible avenues of how this life might unfold. And I went through millions of possibilities all within the blink of an eye. It was easy to do that. I remember reviewing just tons of huge amounts of information all at once. And I knew even then that it was very likely that I would experience a trauma in my life.
Yeah, where he goes with this, he's basically has to make a trade-off because he doesn't want to remember a lot of things to disconnect himself from how horrible coming back in a physical body is. And he even talked about how it was very dense, very low vibrational when he came, and he felt so disconnected. And what do we hear all the time in near-death experiences? What do we hear all the time with even out-of-body experiences and DMT? They felt like they felt like their true self in a way, especially in near-death experiences. People talk like they felt like their true essence, their real self. And he talks about how he basically felt so disconnected. You heard that, and it's just it's nuts. It's he's going against himself this entire time, and again, like I said earlier, trust me, if probably all of us have been through something very similar. Lee, nice to see you, buddy. I hope you're feeling okay. I'm sorry to hear that you went to the hospital. And he's not a freak. He's not. He's trying to make sense of all of this. I feel bad for him. I do. I feel bad for the guy.
20s that would crush me, and that would help facilitate my opportunity to re-experience this fear that I wanted to re-experience and integrate.
So see, there's a trade-off. He has to have a traumatic experience in order to face this fear, and then as a result, he remembers the pre-birth memories too. It's such a sick little twisted thing going on here.
So I was super excited to do this, to accept this, even though I knew it would be hard. I knew that this body, had certain limitations that other bodies do not, and that this body would be difficult in certain ways on a day-to-day level that would challenge my ego or something. It would make it difficult for me in a way that I would be forced to turn inward, and I would have to find strength And also I wouldn't be, because I had, it's hard to explain, but I had a sense that it would be challenging enough to the ego that I would have to, I wouldn't be able to go totally down the ego path because it would be too challenging. So anyway, I reviewed all this, and I remember there having to be a moment to accept, and I don't remember that moment, but I do remember after that waiting for this to start the life, and I remember being in this state where I was still timeless, and it was wonderful, and I remember this light, this powerful light, and then I remember the guide coming to me and being like, all of a sudden, and not rude, but almost rude, like, now, go now, you have to go now, right now, you know, like getting my attention, like super, like, now, buddy. And so I was like, okay, now. So then, all right. Then.
So they came in and they pressured him and said, oh, there's the guy, and he's thinking to himself, hey, you've been hanging out here long enough. Let's go. Let's get with the program here. What are you doing?
Next thing is I was at these beings that I can only describe as tinkerers or technicians, these beings who they're like technical in nature, and they helped apply the veil to me. So they do this.
Sorry to interrupt again, but technicians. He uses the word technicians that are assisting in disconnecting his spirit self. Okay? Just think about that.
I don't know how to describe it. There's this thing like the spirit has certain nature and qualities, and the life has something going on in the body, and they have to like do this thing where it like, I don't know, they make everything fit somehow. So they were doing that, and they asked me one more time, are you sure? And I knew that this was the point of no return. And if I said yes to here, I was in for the ride. I was strapped in. And I remember saying yes. And
so there's his consent, gives his consent. And they ask him, I think they ask him if he's ready. This is just just a thought in my head here. I think they ask if he's ready to really gauge where he's at and how successful they will be at their mission to get him going on the path that they want, and just to get him staying in that body.
And then the veil coming over me again. And okay, so this time my intention was, okay, just don't fight it. just let go, don't resist, just allow. And I remember, okay, so like this drop in vibration is meaningful to explain, but if you, I don't know, just as a metaphor, but if you imagine like an amp that produces a pitch, like, and then you have a dial and you turn it down, and it turns down. Well, it turned all the way down, and then turn down more and more and more and more and more and more, and keep cranking it down, and keep going. And that's how it felt in the vibration of the being coming down into this super dense, super tight, super cut off, like going to the vacuum of space, I think is a good metaphor I like to use. It's like you go to a place where there's just no heat and no air. There's just empty space. That's how it felt, but also super dense, like coming down and being shoved into a tuna can, like a fish can. And
sounds
it
great.
Was incredibly jarring, but I just strove not to fight it. And okay, so one of the things I had asked before in the review process was I had asked to have a small amount of memory this time. I said I don't want to forget everything. I want to have just a tiny little amount of memory, just a tiny little bit. And they said I could do that. They had said that I could do that, but it would make it more challenging. It would make this life more difficult because the contrast would be even greater.
Yeah, they don't want you having memories. They don't. Having memories probably helps liberate people. That's the way I look at it. So it's almost like there's a push and tug going on and a negotiation on your next incarnation, and they're doing everything they can to make sure that you remember as little as possible.
And at the time, I knew that even that contrast was like all contrast, an opportunity for growth. So I accepted. So anyway, as the veil came over me now, I was I was feeling this, and there was like this little window open that I surmise, I don't know for certain, but I think had to do with that request, because I had this like little window open that was not veiled all the way. And I remember like holding on for a super long time and being like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And sending a signal back through the window, did it take, back to the technicians, and them sending one signal back, yes. So I knew that the veil had been successfully applied, and I allowed myself to be in the womb.
Wait till you hear where he goes with this. As if the first time wasn't crazy enough. Here we go.
In peace. And for a while. So then I was there for a while. Okay. And it was all good. And then eventually I said, I'm not doing this. This is like once again, the darkness and the cutoffness and the lack of connectedness. And I was like, I'm not doing this. Again. So again, I reached this point where I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is just so ridiculous.
Abort, 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 abort.
So at that moment, I began to summon my energy again so that I could fight my way out again. But as that happened, I had this very humbling moment, and it's like the most holy, precious memory for me. But I remember the Spirit of God coming to me and showing me that I was still, showing me what I was still all that is. It showed me the stars and the solar system, and I remember feeling the churning of the sun and the joy of that, and knowing that was still me. And the Spirit said to me, this is still what you are. You can never not be this. The most holy thing for me to remember, because that's what we really are. That's what all of us really are.
I mean, really, you can't help but feel bad for the guy. I mean, I think we've all been through this to some degree. I just think most of us have chosen, unfortunately, to not have our memories. And, you know, again, you can't help but feel bad for him. But he's being manipulated. Something sent a signal, a telepathic communication to him, and said, you know, hang in there. You're this, you're that. We're love. We're all connected. You know, the typical thing you hear all the time. And it's just like, woof, it just rips through him and takes, and look, you could tell by how emotional he is that this is an authentic recollection that he's having. And it's eating him up inside. And he's just going against everything inside his gut. Okay, lawnmower's back.
And so it's very hard to remember that now, because I feel deep in the human experience right now. I'm not close to there right now. I'm deep in the weeds. But at the time, it calmed me a lot, and it made me relax. And I was like, oh, good. Oh, that's good. I'm still that's good. So then I relaxed. And as I did that, I just was able to let go and experience the relatively simple experience of being in the womb. Okay, so then the next memory is the day I was born. I remember the day I was born. I remember just one visual image of the room after I was out, and I remember seeing the layout of the room. And then when I was older, I drew the room from my mother, and I said, you were here, the bed was here, here was the window, here was the heating grate, here was the doctor. And she said I was right, which I knew I would be. But beside the visual memory, that wasn't the most important memory. The most important memory was just like the experience, the shock. There was no context yet. Like I had no intellectual context whatsoever. I was like a clean slate. So it was just sense data and stuff going on. There was cold and shock and light and touching and very intense sense data. And I remember being intensely curious and looking around and being like, what is this place? Where am I? And looking at these beings who are taking care of me or doing whatever they're doing, and being in awe of them and actually feeling love for them. And actually, it's funny because just last week I was talking to my father about this memory, and he said that's interesting. He said because the day you were born, your eyes were wide open, and he said you were looking at everything with such an intenseness and an intense curiosity. And he said he couldn't believe that such a young baby could have such an intense, curiosity. And I remember that. I remember being like, "What is this?" So after that, I don't have any memory for years after that first day. I mean, I have some very vague memories of looking up at my crib, looking up at the dangly thing that's supposed to get my attention, and being happy when my mother came to get me, and some brief memories like that. But when I got older, I remember being like, 2 or 3, and just assuming everybody knew that we weren't really from here. This was just a neat experience, and a neat place we came to have an experience. And I assumed that many things in the other realities would be true here. And the example I mentioned in the other video was I remember I remember assuming that we could feel each other's emotions here, because in other reality systems you just share feelings and information, and it's all telepathic, and it's just an open channel. So I remember being in a diaper one day, and my parents had a friend over who was a neighbor. And I remember that my father had a record on the record player, and he was playing a song I really liked. And I remember dancing to the song and feeling really funky and shaking my little tush in my diaper and saying to the neighbor, "Watch me dance," because I wanted her to feel what I was feeling. And she walked away unimpressed. And I remember this like dawning on me, like, she can't feel what I'm feeling. Like, what is going on? Like, what is this place where we can't feel each other's emotions? Like, what the heck is going on? It was just so foreign. And I had other assumptions that I thought would be true here. And even to this day, I feel like there's certain things about this world that, I mean, I just don't get. Like, it's just not normal. Certain things that happen here are just not where we're typically used to being. Like, another example I like to use is like, I assumed that people who were in positions of authority or power were loving and wise beings, because in other reality systems, the powerful, I don't want to use the word positions, but beings who are in roles of authority or helpfulness, they're loving and wise. So I assumed that to be true.
Okay, so in other realms, everything is, all these entities are loving and wise. But then we have Earth. You have, and it just shows how this poor guy is being manipulated and screwed with. And to the question by PKOSB, he says, "Why do you think his memory is wrong? Just wondering. This is interesting." I'm not saying his memory is wrong. I'm saying he's being deceived. That's the whole. That's where I'm at with all of this. It's they're hearing things over and over and over again. It's manipulation. Yeah, and exactly. The love bomb is absolutely powerful. The love bomb and the manipulation, and the throwing all the things out there like we're all connected. You're on a mission. Those types of things. Pop in and misguide people to make them feel a certain way, as if they have this, if they just incarnate one more time, just one more time, then they're going to be able to, ascend themselves better, or blah blah. They have unfinished business. You name it. We've heard it all in these types of conversations. Near-death experiences and pre-birth memories, etc., etc. And the lawn mower's back, so let's keep going.
Through here, like, if you were teaching a classroom, you must be a loving and wise being. And if you were like the mayor of a city, you must be even more loving and wise. And if you're the president of the United States, you must be the most loving and wise person. Well, that's not how it works on Earth. That's not how it happens. So eventually, like I said, the memories passed. And I had no memory of that at all until I was 30, and then this began to return to me. And as it did, I there's been moments of curiosity where I'll go to a memory and be like, oh, what else? And I just get this nudge like, no, you don't need to know anything else. And there's a reason that the veil is, because the veil, I'm very thankful that I'm veiled, because even having a tiny glimmer is just, it can be very painful.
I mean, hear that? That's just sad. I feel bad for the guy. He's happy to be veiled. And in some sense, he's right. I mean, imagine you incarnate here and you have this flood of all these past memories and you have to live with yourself until you die. But at the same time, wouldn't you want to know the truth? It's such a double-edged sword. I know if I had to incarnate here, I would want all my memories. But clearly, it didn't happen. I have fragments of past lives, but I don't know much beyond that. That's just me. And everyone has different stories and looks deep in themselves and finds different things. But most of us don't have the luxury of having full-on recollection of everything about us. And that's sad. And he's happy to have this veil on him. It's sad. It's really sad.
So that's a summary. It's really hard to talk about these things because they're way bigger than anything words can say. And we like to think of things from the human perspective. So we like to think in terms of objects and events and places and what did that look like and where did you go? And yeah, but the whole physical universe that we're in right here is something of a virtual reality. It's something of...
And see, I've been saying that too. We have the stupid flat earth, round earth bullshit. When in fact, the place is holographic. It glitches out. It has all sorts of weird things going on. So it's a virtual reality type experience. And, sorry about the lawnmower. And we have... that exists on some level outside of this existence. There's almost like a shell that, you have the earth plane and then you have the astral earth plane and then probably a few more levels after that. And those are in place to make sure that everyone sticks around. Okay, hold on.
It's occurring within our consciousness itself that pre-existed and will exist after the constraints of this physical experience are done. So that being said, that those reality systems and those experiences, they're just so transcendent by comparison next to what we can possibly say here.
And if you hear other people talk about this, they basically mention that it is a virtual reality type experience. People who have visions at their time of death, leading up to their death, where they can see dead family members, and they'll be in a room with a living family member by the bedside, and they'll be having a full-on conversation that something isn't there. But they talk about how it's like a virtual projection, but it's customized to that person having the experience. So just thought I'd throw that in there.
I went on for a long time. I'm sorry.
No, it's amazing. I didn't want to interrupt you because to me, it's like the story is just so incredible. So what?
It's actually not incredible because I just have to say that because every person here
yes
has done that and more. Like,
but that's the part
there's nothing unique. There's nothing at all unique about me at all.
I think that's what's so astounding.
I feel like it's like, oh, well, that's so interesting. No, it's not. It's very normal. Actually, everything I'm just describing is very normal. We are non-physical beings having a human experience. It's just what we are. And we've all gone through incredible journeys.
But I think that's what's amazing
okay, sorry,
about
go
it.
Back to you.
is to think that we've all done that. Like to have you explain it and for all of us to understand as you're talking about this experience, for each of us to know that we've done that. And that
we've done something similar. I can't speak for you, of course, but you've done... very likely that everyone has had, I feel like it's very likely that everybody has had a similar process. I can only speak for myself, but yes, all of us we all come intentionally. There's a really important point. There's no such thing as an incarnation without free will agreement.
Right.
See,
There's always agreement.
Right.
see, this is what it all boils down to. We make these freaking stupid decisions, and we end up back here. We give away our sovereignty and free will to come here.
Us agreed, even though we don't remember and everything, even though we're veiled, and Earth is super, super dense. We did agree to come here.
Yeah. And I've heard, and I think many of us have heard the description before of what it is to be born and to accept the veil, but I've never heard it in a first person before. I've never heard someone. So that's what makes it feel it's so real. It's visceral. That is so exciting that it's not just theory. I hear theory. I hear, the description from, and this is like, you talking about, I went down to the 7-Eleven and bought, a soda, and I accepted the veil, which is like, it's real.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think this is a very authentic accounting. When I was listening to it, it just seemed like he's not embellishing or anything. It seems like it's a very, very authentic account. I completely agree.
It is real, and it's interesting because I think a lot of times, so in spirituality in general, I think we tend to kind of think about it a little bit like we put it in this conceptual bucket and it's over there somewhere. It's like this abstract thing. Well, okay, we're spirits, but we're really on Earth. I really see what's in front of me. Okay, but there's some, there's angels and there's other reality. No, it's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, this place, this experience is the less real experience, and we all kind of know that. We all kind of sense this is not quite all that's going on. This is like the dream. This is what I like.
You hear that? I mean, again, it's like he said he knows it's not all it's cracked up to be, but he's not piecing it together. I feel bad. I mean, it's because he seems like very well read. He's looked into things. Later on you'll hear him mention a name that blew me away. That he heard that. And probably didn't read the same book, but I'll get into that in a minute. Sorry, the lawnmower's back.
Black and white movie is real, but it's not fundamentally real. It's not the most real, and where we come from and who we really are is what is. It's far more real, and it's very normal. It's not like woo-woo fairy tale like, oh, that's weird religious stuff. No. We are more than human. It's just that here on Earth, it's very normal to be very heavily veiled, especially because of like just the way that the nature of this reality and what we've done with it, and the way that we play with this dense of form. It's just the way that it works that we feel completely immersed in it. But that's not really what we are.
One question that came in was from Wendy. She was asking about, so when you took on this life, the fact that you said there was some ego challenge, was that complementary to your purpose, or was that part of your purpose?
I think it was complementary, and I think it was both, because it complemented the growth, but it was also very much important that I do that, because if I wasn't challenged in that way, I don't think I would have the ability to meet the big kahuna fear when it arrived. Like I needed to have a day-to-day challenge to be able to be in a place where I can meet the fear. And like another thing I know that had to happen is I knew that my father was important, because I knew that my father would instill a confidence in me. He would build up my confidence a lot as a child, and that confidence would be really important for me to have a rock to stand on to face this fear. And he did that. I also knew that it was important that I be male, and not that male. So I had some people make comments after I mentioned this in the other video, and they said, "What about females can accept?" Of course, that's not what I'm saying. It's just that the female and the male energy are just different, and there's a certain kind of an edge that I needed. It call it even an obtuse edge or something. I just needed a certain edge to be able to meet the fear in the way that I needed to meet it, and that's nothing to do with male or men or women being better or worse at anything like that. I just knew that it was important that I be male. Anyway, those were just other examples of things that were important for me to be able to meet fear.
Yeah. A couple questions came through. Donna is asking, why is it necessary that we hide from our true selves?
Okay, so if you weren't veiled, you would be the unveiled you. And the unveiled you is connected to all that is and is unlimited and is
That sounds horrible. That sounds awful.
full of, has no limitations, is full of power and connectedness, and there's no duality to strive against in that, because you are transcendent of that. So to I'll put it in a mundane way. So if you knew that you were the sun, I like to use the sun because that's what I experienced in my in the womb experience. But if you knew that you were connected to the sun, like tangibly, not just as like an intellectual idea, but you could feel the sun in your being, and you could feel its bliss, and you knew that you were the stars, and you knew that nothing could you get up in the morning and eat your cereal and drive to work? No, you would.
Yeah, because you know the freaking truth. God forbid.
Because you'd be the sun. You wouldn't be you. So if you want to be you, if you want to be the separate you, then it's actually it's a huge opportunity to be veiled, because it means that now there's this unique perspective from which that you can integrate from, and that perspective is an incredible opportunity for expansion. This is an important idea. So, and again, I'm drawing a line because in duality, but because we're in duality right now, but this is beyond duality. But so you got source. Okay, so if you imagine that as like a sun or something, a source of light, if you can go like this far away from source, or this far vibrationally, and then you can integrate that experience and be fully there, then there's this expansion that takes place. This is so beyond words. That's very, very, very powerful, and that's only possible if you are the human, immersed all the way in human character. It's exactly that immersion. It's exactly that consistency and the denseness of the experience that gives it the edge that permits the expansion that we are looking to.
Now you see, this is what happens over and over and over and over. I swear to God, Earth is the biggest case of Stockholm syndrome you will ever see. Everyone loves to just excuse everything that goes on here and say, oh, it's a learning experience, it's an expansion experience, it's your soul and spirit's growth experience. We can go on and on and on. It's like people love to make excuses for their captors. It's Stockholm syndrome on steroids. That's what's going on here. It's one big mind fuck. It baffles my mind. All these excuses over and over and over. Stockholm syndrome on steroids, my friends. That's what's going on here.
So is it the finding our way back to source from so far a distance is what causes the expansion of spirit?
I think that's a natural. I think that's going to happen naturally as one does that. Mm-hmm. It's not that the goal is simply to find one's way back to source, because you're already source. Mm-hmm. You're already the drop in the ocean is still the ocean. You are still the ocean right now. Like you're not actually separate. This is a really important point. None of us are actually separate from each other. We are not separate from God or source, whatever word we want to use. We're not. Okay, but though if we come into this defined experience and we want to integrate this experience, and integrate means we fully experience it, we bring love to it, we bring openness to it, we learn how to be our true, loving, joyful selves in that experience, whatever it is. As we do that, the expansion naturally happens, and we naturally end up returning because we were already there in the first place. I don't know how else to put it.
We were already there in the first place, but look where we are. Look where you are. Of his own words, you're in the lowest density and the furthest connection from source or God, whatever you want to call it, but source or God is within us. It is us looking exterior to something else as a, let's just call it a coping mechanism, or trying to explain something, is where we really lose ourselves. We really need to concentrate within us. We have that connection to source, yes, but do we relinquish our sovereignty for this? Really? Really? That's what it boils down to? No. No, no, no. Not me. I don't know about you guys, but not me.
A question is, one person was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing what the fear was that you needed to overcome, if you're okay, if that's,
Sure.
if it's universal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Well, I'm still in the process of integrating this fear. It's too big to do all at once, but I've taken very important steps in this life to do that. So when we talk about fears, and from the human perspective, we like to say a fear of something, like a fear of spiders or something. It's bigger than that. It's like a vibration. It's a state of being in which one is distant from source in a certain vibrational way. And the way that I could best describe that would be, and this has to do with the negative self-perception, okay? Because fears ultimately arise from a negative, either a negative self-perception or a perception that's negative about the world. So there's always fear is always because we bought into some perception that is not in alignment with the truth. So the truth is we are powerful. When we buy into the perception of powerlessness, we feel fear. The truth is we are loved. When we buy into the idea that we are not loved, we feel fear. Anyway, in my case, this specific fear was...
Yeah, see the love thing? Here we go with the love. Okay, I love love. Love's great, okay? But not as an excuse for this existence. Okay, they use love as a manipulation tool when we die. You will hear it over and over and over and over. The near-death experiences. It was the most love I've ever felt. It is undescribable. Some people will even say, "Oh, it was more than the birth of my children, or when I got married." On and on and on and on. The love is used as a weapon. It's a weapon that's used to get you back here. Okay. Love is probably the best human characteristic that we have, okay? And it's wonderful, okay? But let's not allow love to take away our sovereignty when it's time for us to move on from this place. That is not happening with me. I'm done. Done.
A fear of inability to escape agony, mixed with being too proud to suffer. So being stuck in pain and being too proud to kind of like stuck in pain and resisting it. So because that was the fear, I have had some very interestingly painful experiences in this life, which is okay. It's okay because ultimately there's no experience that I choose to not reject any experience. That's my goal, because there is no need to reject any of the experiences. But in my case, I was in Chengdu, China, and I intended to live in China after I graduated from college. And in this case, physically what happened was I had a heat stroke, and I was in a Chinese hospital for 4 days, and I was given a large amount of potassium, bag after bag after bag after bag of potassium. And it caused some kind of neurological burn in my whole system that was absolutely agonizing. And I was stuck in that for weeks. I also,
Awful.
My body had a whole bunch of other problems, and it was just agony. And I suffered trauma from that. I was in a hotel room in China for a while. I had lived in China in Beijing in the year 2000. This is 2002 that this experience happened. And that experience went on for a while, and I was traumatized from it. And I went through years of counseling to face the feelings and the fears and the sensations that I experienced in that moment. See, I'm a really sensitive person, and actually that goes in hand with having some memory of pre-life, because I knew that if I wanted to have some memory of pre-life, I'd have to be very sensitive. And so the experience was just very intense. I experienced everything pretty intensely. So the moment that I rejected for many years was a moment I was laying in a hospital bed in China, and I felt like I was going to die and there was no way to escape this pain, and that was it. It was a very, very, very dark, low vibrational moment. So yeah, I no longer have trouble viewing it. Now, I have set an incredible amount of things into momentum in my own experience, because we set momentum with our intention and with our beliefs. It creates a momentum and things arrive into our experience from that. And so there are moments when I have, some serious, not serious, but I have some significant pain at times. That's okay.
This guy went through hell. I mean, I feel bad for him. Again, I can't help but feel bad for him. My heart goes out to him. It's just this experience that he had was written before he came here. What the hell? He doesn't deserve that.
I don't resist. I'm not. Reality is not our enemy. So as things arrive to us, we can allow them and feel them and meet them with openness. And I'm striving to do that.
I love that. I think that's a message I keep getting over and over again, to allow what comes, to see what arises and to accept it and to work with it. Another question that came in is, did we pre-choose our career path as well, or is it insignificant in the soul journey for our profession?
I don't know.
Not sure. Okay.
I can't say categorically. I can say in my case, I had no memory of, I should say pre-life, I had no memory of the job I would do. But as a child, it's interesting. I had an intuitive moment where I pictured this one room where I would have a business meeting. And then I forgot about that. And a few years ago, I was in this room having this meeting, and I had this moment where it came back to me. I'm like, holy crap. I saw this 30 years ago. The system, spirit, is very good at predicting outcome because it has all the data. But anyway, so I don't know. I don't know if I think for some people, I imagine that in their pre-life plan, doing a certain physical work is going to be very important for them. I imagine that's definitely true for some people. I just know in my case, it didn't come up.
So Sheila was asking you when you were talking about the being who inspired you to come in the first place, that person was so powerful and positive, and she's wondering that what was that relative to? So she's curious about hierarchy on the other side, and what does that look and feel like?
First off, before he answers this, there's a hierarchy because people, spirit souls, are giving away themselves to these other beings, these entities that are under the cloak of the earth realm, reincarnation, soul trap, matrix. Okay? So it's let's just keep going.
Okay. So I won't try to speak to hierarchy overall on the other side, but I will just say that love is the hierarchy. So in my case, okay, so I think a metaphor would help. So if you had let's say you took a beautiful maple leaf from a tree and you put it next to a large flowering grapevine, which one is better? Well, they're just different. Sure, one is bigger and has more grapes, but this one's beautiful too. That's kind of like how spirit is. Each spirit is gorgeous and unique and meaningful. But in this case, in comparison to what I could do at the time, this being was incredibly powerful. Actually, that reminds me of an interesting quote from Bob Monroe. He's an out-of-body explorer. Many people here.
This part amazed me because I don't know which book he read, but after he mentions this, I'm going to comment a little further.
I'll be familiar with Robert Monroe's books. He said something like, beings who graduated from the physical universe experience were like gods in other systems. Now, it's not that we come here to be powerful. It's that as we grow in joy and love, And as we conquer fear, power is the natural result, especially in other systems that are much less constraining. This is the constraining, super crazy place. So if we can master things here, holy cow, we got it. Like, we got it made when the
Excuse. More excuses for our captors, right? More excuses. Again, not trying to shit on this guy, but it's just Stockholm syndrome constantly. Now he brings up Bob Monroe, which is, when I heard that, I was like, whoa, because Bob Monroe talks about, I think it's Journeys Outside the Body. See, the problem is he did publish 3 books, so I don't know which book he read. Maybe he didn't read all 3, but in one of the books he talks about Loosh, and he had an out-of-body experience and was seeing how Earth was an energy farm, and he used the term Loosh, and he had problems for days afterwards. And to me, it's like, this guy is right there. He's right there. But you'll see, he just makes excuses. And it boils down like every new age mumbo jumbo. It's all about love. I mean, it's just, that's where he ends up going with all this. It's wild.
when it's a lot easier, that kind of thing. It's like, metaphorically, if you go and, I don't know, you go run a marathon, it's not hard for you to jog a quarter of a mile. It's not, you've already run a marathon. It's kind of like that.
What is it to be powerful on the other side? Is it to be, what do you use that power for? What are you doing?
So there are different.
He uses his power to give up his sovereignty and free will. That's what we all did.
Reality systems, and there are different rules in them. And most of, I don't know. I'm not like a
no rules, only rules for those who give them away.
Tons of experience, but in the experience I've had, and from my pre-birth memory, my understanding is that many other systems are thought responsive, intent responsive, and the nature of who we are immediately has an effect on the environment.
So he's talking about thoughts and how they're thought-based areas. And what are we? We're mind thought beings. We're perception beings, and some of that's going on the outer shell too. Of course, I think that probably exists way beyond the veil of the earth realm and the physical and its outer astral construct. But again, people, spirits, souls are prone to manipulation,
or on what we can do. So when consciousness evolves, its capabilities in those environments evolve. Now that's like more of a tangible. You're asking power, like, what can it do? You said, what can it do? So that's more like, to me, that means more like something tangible. So in a reality system, there's a way that the spirit can better execute, actualize, I guess, its nature when it has evolved. I'll put it that way. But power overall, the true power is love, beingness itself. That is.
There it is. There it is. It's love. It's all love. It's all love. Everything beyond this existence is all love. But you gotta come back here. You gotta come back here. So you only get a little bit of love when you come here. Whereas if you go on the astral outside realm of Earth, it's all love, all the time. Love, love, love. And that's why we're here. We're here because of love.
That is the only power. So I can't really answer, oh, well, you can move some rocks. No, it's not about moving rocks. It's about beingness with a capital B. And as beingness expands, it's beautiful and powerful. Like, people who have had near-death experiences or spiritual transformative experiences who experience interacting with Source, they convey power, but also amazing total love. That's the true power, is the love of surrender and what we really are, beingness.
The true power is the love of surrender. Surrender. See, this is where it just gets new agey, fluffy bullshit that really just ticks me off, because it's just, again, it's excuses. He's basically justifying giving up yourself for this experience. Wake up. PKOSP says something I've said constantly. It says, why come here just to remember who you are? Doesn't make sense. How can you learn if memory gets wiped? Yes, constantly saying that. If you are here to learn, Earth is a learning experience. So much learning. Growing. Earth's a school. Well, guess what? How is it a school if you can't remember your freaking memories? You don't know your past lives. It's the most ridiculous New Age mumbo jumbo, and it goes way outside New Age. I mean, it goes through all these religions, everything out there. It's always the same thing over and over and over. Earth's a learning experience. Earth is a school. But yet, we come here and our minds, our memory is wiped. We have no clue of our past existence. Some of us are lucky enough to get little fragments, and maybe there are people that can retain, and recall a lot of this memory. I think, this is just a guess, I could, so I'm not saying this is true, but I suspect that the people in physical bodies that are the controllers, like, we have politicians, we have, high level occultists that are really running the shit in the background, even some celebrities. I think some of them may be able to retain full-on memories, but they are put in place to control this place, to control the Earth realm. They are the power structure represented in the physical body here on Earth. Just my guess. But yeah, the memory wipe thing, ridiculous. Again, more everyone likes to make excuses for their captors here.
Self, that is the power. So when we can take that beingness and reflect it here in a circumstance, that's powerful. Let's say you've got an illness. Let's say you just heard you got a really terrible illness. How do you meet that moment? That's powerful. If you meet it with love and openness, that's power.
Yeah.
We like to take words like power and then define them. We're like, oh, okay, I got these words. Okay, so what is this? And we always want to know, what is this thing? What is this thing? It's bigger than that, unfortunately. Unfortunate to the thinking mind.
So she was asking, she's wondering if we have color, like are different souls different colors? So like green rays, or like this idea of the different rays. Are we perceived as color, or are we all white? She asks.
I've experienced color in non-physical realities. I'll just say that, and I know that I've had experiences where I've engaged another being, and the quality of their nature is full of much, including color and vibration and sound. And again, we like to say, what is that thing? What's the sight? I know green. So is there green? Well, actually, green's kind of a good example, because the one out-of-body experience I had, all I did is look at the grass. It was this reality system. It had grass, and the grass was the most beautiful grass I ever saw. It was vibrant, alive. The green was so green and so beautiful that I felt like I could look at the grass all day and be.
This is a really common out-of-body experience I've read about. People will see, this really beautiful deep green grass. Even I had one that involved beautiful grass and flowers and very distant mountain ranges. I think it's a really common one, probably because it's something that we're used to seeing a lot. We're used to seeing green grass, most of us at least, and just green in general. So I don't know, I just thought I'd throw it out there.
Completely full of joy because the grass was so green. So there's color.
What other reality systems do you remember?
I'm not going to try to define that from here. I think I'd be very. I think it'd be very incorrect to do that.
Is there another one or one other that you can?
I'd probably try to categorize at least a couple. I've had out of body experiences that I would say are like very local, where I see this world. Like one time I was walking down my steps. This is kind of a funny story, but I was walking down my stairs and I was out of body. So I gave myself permission to get up from bed. And I got up from bed, but I didn't actually get up from bed. My body was still in bed. So I'm walking down the steps and I'm like, am I out of body? Something just wasn't quite right. But it was perfectly normal. Like it's so normal. So I'm walking down the stairs. I'm feeling the carpet in between my toes and I'm feeling the cracks in the wall. And I get to the bottom of the stairs and I actually concluded I was not out of body because it was so normal. And I actually thought to myself, I'm the only guy in my city walking down his stairs, wondering if he's out of body. Like I actually felt dumb because I'm always exploring. I'm always trying to ask the questions because you got to like have that mindset if you're going to. But then I got to the bottom of the stairs and the light was just a little bit different. And I'm like, maybe I still am in a body. So how else can I test it? Because I could feel the wall, I could feel the carpet. So I decided to try to walk through the wall in the front of my house. And I did. I walked through it and I was in the front yard. And I was like, oh,
it's a good test.
Oh my gosh, I'm out of body. So that was one experience. But I think that's actually the only time I've had an experience where I was that like local in my house kind of thing. But I've had other experiences that are in vibrant, like rich colored, vibrant realities that are just alive with color and vibrancy. It's the only way I can put it. I've also had experiences where I've interacted with someone. I've had 4 times. So I like to do this little experiment if my body's asleep and I have a non-physical experience with somebody, I like to try to prove it the next day, like a hobby. So if I meet the person, I usually try to get their attention in a way that I can confirm with them when we wake up. So, and I've had 4 successes so far. I've probably had 5 or 6 failures, but I've had 4 successes, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. That's very cool. So another question is someone's wondering about, she was wondering about that as spirit, can we travel through all the different dimensions? So she's saying it's like 7 through 12 and 10 through 22. She recently learned that someone who had 6 near-death experiences, that there are 22 dimensions, and after 10, it's like either we get to create galaxy and planets. Anyway, she's wondering what your impression is of all that.
So the answer is yes. I won't speak to the number of realities. I don't know. I don't know the number of dimensions. But I do know that consciousness itself is always connected to all other things. Always. There is no separation, truly. What consciousness am I talking about? Your consciousness. Like right now, the you that's listening, the aliveness that you feel in your body, the I, that I is the movie screen that the physical universe is playing on. And you don't have to have a physical movie playing on it. This is just a metaphor. That consciousness, that I, that's you right now, is the same I that is connected to all things and can experience other reality systems. There's a good quote by the guide Seth. Seth Speaks. I love Seth. Seth's great. Says something like physical reality is like a bright point of light that you just never look away from, but you can. And I love that because it takes some getting used to, because here in this reality, we get super deep, super dense, super focused, super labels, super physical, super worries, super pain, all the stuff. So it takes some serious practice usually to even achieve silence of thought. You need to be able to experience what you really are, which is awareness of self, and without having thought constantly bombard you constantly. And then once you are thought itself, not thought itself, beingness itself, awareness itself, you will find non-physical things will rise to you all on their own. Like you don't go get it. At least it's not how I experience it. They just come because they're in you already. Like think of it this way: it's in you. It's not that you are stuck in this place and you got to go somewhere else. No, the physical location, discrete location, is an illusion. Like right now, you're on the West Coast, right? I'm in the Eastern time zone. No, not really. What's really happening is we're engaged in this mutual environment that we perceive as the physical world that has context, really good context. But ultimately, that's all. You're not really that face that I see on the screen. I'm not really this. We are already connected in the higher state right now. Like, you don't have to. You're already on the other side of the veil right now.
So when you were when you were brought a life, what were you doing? You said they brought it to you, so presumably you were in the midst of something else. What were you doing? Where were you?
Yeah, I used the word frolicking in the last video, and because like, I think that's a close English word. Like, I remember being in a realm of golden light and just I don't know, prancing is the wrong word, but just enjoying being and moving. And I remember engaging in some activities that we might call like communication, creative endeavors, visiting places, all very fast. But I'm not going to try to like go any more into that, I don't think, because I think it's just not right for me to do that from here.
Is it because,
like I said, we want to know, like, oh, what objects were there? We're really curious about environments, because we live in a physical environment. So we think the reality is an environment. Like, we look around, we see this environment. All reality, this is what reality is. So now I want to know what other, I'm not saying that environments aren't important. They are, they're really cool. I mean, we create environments in this reality and in others. It's just that we're bigger than just the objects or the places anyway. So
yeah, and I mean, he's spot on with that. It's but this reality realm simulation is just a deception from cradle to grave. And the only way is to learn your way out. That's it. It's the only way. In connecting with your inner self and digging and digging and meditating and meditating and digging and digging and looking at the whole picture. Looking at the outside distractions, at the news and your friends and your family and all these other people that come chirping in your ear all day, every day, from cradle to grave, are trying to mold your perception to a certain way of thinking. And then the people that can critically think and ask questions are called and labeled conspiracy theorists, or this, or that, or crazy, or nuts, or what. You go on, you can pick from the buffet. You got a ton of words that you can apply to us, people who like to actually ask questions and not just take everything that's fed to us as gospel. Okay? We got religions, we got, all these distractions like sports and celebrities and movies and TV. And movies and TV, they actually tell us a lot of truth, but you got to be looking for the right ones. In movies and TV, you have, a very small segment where you can find truth, and then the rest of it is complete shit. So you have to be really looking for all this. And then, you're able to decode symbolism and just look at the whole big picture, look for pattern recognition, trends, data, see how it all fits together. And we are being bamboozled on a massive, massive scale. Massive. And the only way out is standing our ground at death. And like I said in the description and previous videos, I am going to do a video on my plan for when death comes. I've been writing notes. I got it might be multiple videos, I'm not sure, but be on the lookout for that. I don't know when it's going to come out, maybe a few months, but yeah, we have got to stand our ground and shield ourselves from any of this manipulation, because there's so much of it, and we can't give up even a smidgen of our sovereignty to some other being or beings that want to get us back here. It's not happening to me. not happening. And I think it's really important that pretty much daily you are reminding yourself of this and that you want to be sovereign. You do not want anything or anyone taking a piece of you when you leave here. Because this entire place is just one big, massive deception and mindfuck. I mean, it's all there. Everything's out there to distract you. Distract. Put yourself in a box. Label yourself this. Label yourself that. You know, you like sports. You like music. Go into these boxes. Have fun. But don't ask the deeper questions. Don't even think about it. And if you do, well, fuck you. You're an asshole. That's where it goes. You know, you God forbid, we are not allowed to think for ourselves. The public chastise us. So screw them. Screw everybody. Let them go reincarnate back here. Let them. Who gives a shit? I don't care about these people. It means nothing to me anymore. Because no one here can fix this. It just cannot be fixed. None of it. Okay? And I don't care anymore. I don't care. You know, when you're first waking up, you think, oh, if I share this bit of information, I share this. If only a bunch of people around me saw it, and you start screaming from the rafters, things will be able to change. No, nothing's changing because it's meant to be this way. People are so brainwashed and manipulated and fucked in the head because of the control system that's put into place through education, from birth to everything, the financial system, religion. We can go on and on and on. All our perception is being hijacked every day. And if we do not stand our ground and are on our feet at all times, look how easy it is. Because all you got to do is look outside and see how everyone is being manipulated. And they're all parroting the same crap. Oh, did you see this last night on the news? Did you hear about the recent deaths? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Did you find Jesus? You know, Jehovah, you know, did you read the Quran? Blah, blah. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Okay, I'm done ranting.
That makes sense. I think it relates back to what you were saying about when they were trying to explain the life to you, they were focused more on how you would feel at different stages of the life versus the specifics of the reality.
It's how it is to be it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it like? Like right now, if you were going to have a conversation with a non-physical person, you know, would they be asking you like, you know, what did you do at work today? No, it's who are you? What is it to be you? What then what you share is exactly what it's like to be you. Exactly what you're feeling, exactly what your perspective is, exactly, you know what I mean? Like it's not about the things happen, the context happens, the actions happen, the job happens. That's okay, and that's a part of it. It's meaningful. But really what you're experiencing is what it's like to have that experience.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. That's totally amazing. I've been told by the angels that one of the things that's coming on Earth after this awakening is that we will develop that same empathic telepathy here. And they said it'll bring world peace, that negotiations will go more smoothly because of the fact that people who don't necessarily understand what's happened to them, they won't know why it is, but they'll all of a sudden know that that all of a sudden they understand each other's point of view. And that the negotiations will go more smoothly and it'll lead to peace.
It makes sense to me because it's how we naturally are. So it makes sense to me. I mean, I don't have any knowledge specifically on that topic, but it makes sense to me that we would eventually reach a place, evolution-wise, where we're able to do that here too. I also remember knowing that this whole universe is not the first time we've done this. This is like the next level.
What do you mean?
We're preceding levels, like preceding universe. This sounds great. I know that you said go full woo here.
Please do. No, I know. So, everybody's leaning in right now.
Is that this universe is not the first time. In fact, I have a memory. Part of the pre-birth memory is I remember this moment that that there was this intention being issued forth from source and through all of us, like we were all involved to do this universe. And it was not the first time.
Are you hearing this? This is this mission stuff. Oh, I'm on a mission. Source came to me and said, "Oh, well, it's you've got to go down there and do this and do that. We've got to create this wonderful place called Earth, and it'll be just amazing. It'll be a utopia." We've all been here many, many times, I think. I hate to say that, but I know I've been here for a while. I don't know how long, but I'm going to find out. And when I find out, well, I'm already pissed off. Let's put it that way. But when you really look at it, we do have ourselves to blame because we voluntarily gave up ourselves for this experience. But that doesn't excuse the manipulation, the deception, and the bullshit. No, not at all. Just wanted to, there was a couple comments that I saw that were interesting. Let me just pop up here. Yeah, free will is not free in this realm. Free to select. I think that's, Night Sky is topic and commentary on fire. Thank you. I appreciate that, Night Sky. Yeah, always conditioning to look for a teacher, master, instead of vocally sharing the experience, the information. Yeah, and not looking within. It's always like we put these gurus, these religious figures, whoever, up on a science. You put science on a pedestal. It's always looking outward. Look outward. Look outward. Don't look within. Don't ask questions. Don't look at broad spectrums of information and come up with your own conclusion that is rational based on what you are experiencing, seeing, and reading, and compiling it all together to paint the picture. Let's see. PKOSB says Flat Earth is a huge distraction. Absolutely. It's a massive distraction. And they link in the religious component with it. It's not only just a trap to keep you occupied, just like everything else. It doesn't matter what the hell the topic of the day is, because everything, when you really boil it all down, all this stuff, all the stupid psyops and all the everything, all the conspiracy, everything going on, it's all one big fat distraction to keep you looking, and wasting your time. I mean, like I've said in the past, after you see the 1000th deceptive conspiracy, why do you need to keep looking? Okay, it's there. So what? Okay, there's nothing you can do about it. You learned about it, which is good, because again, by looking into those things, it helps create the big picture. So it is important, but there comes a point in time where you have to look at this stuff and say, okay, enough. All right? So yeah, I mean, you have the religious component with Flat Earth. So it's like, oh, that's a juicy little one to have put in there. When in fact the place is freaking holographic. I mean, it's not. Who the hell knows what's going on here? And it doesn't matter. It's just a distraction. It's holographic, which is even crazier. And I mentioned this before in my last stream, how when Flat Earth was rolled out, they right before then they were talking about how more simulation theory and how it was holographic and stuff like that. And I'm convinced that Flat Earth was rolled out to kind of stop that kind of talk. It saturates, the internet with other theories that isn't the truth. That's all. That's just my opinion. Night Sky says you can see in spiritual communities what the loved up, blissed out crowd actually looks like and how effed up they are when they are away from their guru or egregore and spiritual communities. Yeah, yep. I spoke on here before about how when I did some Zen Buddhist retreats, And when you go there, and I know Night Sky, you know damn well because you're familiar with these communities. When you leave something like that, you mean you're on like on cloud nine. I mean, it doesn't take away from how they are beautiful experiences, but when you are giving a piece of yourself to a guru and you're surrounded by those other people that are kind of doing that. I mean, I never really gave myself to a guru, but it's very magnetic, the experience. It's very hypnotizing and beautiful. So when you leave those experiences and you come back into the real world, it is like you got hit over the head with a 2x4, because you're back in the real world, and boy, you are shook up. So yeah, it's wild. PKOSB says, my husband, I don't know. When I find something new, he listens. It's cool to rant. I'm listening. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. I couldn't imagine having a partner who wouldn't at least be receptive to listening to some of the things that I had to say. So that's great that you have that type of relationship. That you should hold on to that as best you can. If you got someone in your life who you can be with and share these things with, it's so important. Otherwise, you're in a fake relationship if you're not. I mean, I'm not trying to judge anyone, but that's the way I look at it. Night Sky says, we are hacked. Love is the program with the virus and prevents critical thinking. Boom. Well said. Okay, let's keep going.
Veil has been used. I like to think of the veil as like a consciousness technology, like a spirit technology. And this is not the first time there's been a veil. Earth is not the first time. This whole universe is not the first time. But I do remember feeling that this universe had a new level of density, like a new challenge level to take to the next level of expansion.
Wow.
And I feel like even talking about this is something that really would not have fit even a few years ago. So I feel like now is the time we're all kind of trying to remember a little bit. Remember, that's why we're doing things like this.
So do you have a memory of, you said that there was a universe before, and then that one, this is sort of universe 2.0.
Or I don't remember how many or what. This is more than 2.0. It's not like the second. I don't know.
Do you know
cycles? There's big cycles. There's like an in-breath and an out-breath. Huge cycles.
Okay, interesting. And then in the retraction of that breath, is the energy of that universe just neutralized and reused? And
the way I experienced it was the universe was not. I don't want to say it's not real, because it is real, but it's not. It's not really real. It's like a virtual reality, like a video game maybe. Okay, but it's a really real video game that we get to create together, and there's the in-breath and out-breath I'm talking about is the churning of billions of years of experience, and then all the integration that goes along with that for countless beings. That's another important point. There's a lot of topics here. There's only so many slots on Earth. There's only so many characters that can be played. There's only so many people and only so many animals.
The stream froze. Hold on. Looks okay on my end. Okay, sorry about that. This next part is really interesting, because he's just just listen.
Only so many choices.
Let me rewind it.
And there's way more. That's another important point. There's a lot of topics here. There's only so many slots on Earth. There's only so many characters that can be played.
I don't believe that.
Many people and only so many animals and only so many choices. And there's way more conscious beings than there are slots on Earth.
Don't believe that.
And in fact, I've read, and I intuit this is correct, that the number of guides there are helping us outnumber the number of players in the game.
Do you hear that? Does it seem like that's what's going on? Ask yourself honestly. There are more guides out there that are helping us than there are actual people in the bodies? Get out of here. Look around you. Hello? Is he even... this is new age stuff. This poor guy is just inundated with new age thinking. And you can tell he's a good guy. You can tell he means well. You can tell his story is authentic. But when he says stuff like this, it is just all I'm hearing is new age mumbo jumbo woo woo fluff. Because it's just excuses that he wants to believe are going on, or he was told this and is interpreting this, because he was manipulated. It's either one of the two, or a combination of the both, because reality creates a different picture. Does it seem like good entities are here helping out and really tagging along with humanity to make things better? No. It's clear that the evil side is way more powerful here than the good. Okay? Let's just call it what it is. Let's not beat around the bush. Well, of course, yeah, he's a good guy. He's just misguided. He's trying to make sense of his existence and his experience and these memories. So, you can't help but feel bad, but that doesn't mean that he's not prone to indoctrination like all of us, right? I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. I mean, we're all prone to this, and we all grew up with it. So, sometimes we're not looking at the reality of what's going on. Instead, we like to make excuses, because going and finding the type of information like I'm discussing today and I've discussed previously, it's not easy. It's not easy thing to accept, because you don't want to think that something this sick is going on here. You don't, right? You don't want to think that this place is a reincarnation soul trap matrix, right? Who the hell wants to admit that? Who wants to come to that conclusion? And then if you come to it and you read it, you start, some people start making excuses for it. And I don't make excuses. I look at things and I say, okay, this makes sense. This fits here. The patterns show here, and they all create a picture that, in my opinion, cannot be denied. Everyone has a right to feel how they want. But I am done making excuses for this reality. I'm done. Everything that we're told is a lie and a deception and goes against everything the way we see it. So we're just going to lay down and say, oh, well, okay, well, everyone else is saying this, so then obviously, I'm misguided if I think anything's really off here. No, none of that. The days of that are over. Oh, shit. Hold on. All right, I'm going to continue the video.
Outnumber the number of humans. So anyway, being given the opportunity to play a human is super, super rare, awesome, an amazing opportunity. Like, it's like being handed the most precious gift in the universe, because from that side, there are only so many, man. Like, there's only so many. And being human is like, oh my gosh, like, really? Like, holy. And the irony, of course, is that all of us here, so many of us just want to get out. We're like, we're done with this.
Can you hear him? I'm going to replay this part, because in one breath he's talking about how everyone wants to get out. I'm with you, brother. But he's making excuses and saying it's such a special experience. What? Let me rewind, because I don't know where it cut off. I hope it didn't miss much.
The number of players in the game.
Okay.
Right? Lots of choices, characters that can be played. There's only so many people, and only so many animals, and only so many choices. And there's way more conscious beings than there are slots on Earth. And in fact, I've read, and I intuit this is correct, that the number of guides there are helping us outnumber the number of players in the game, outnumber the number of humans. So anyway, being given the opportunity to play a human is super, super rare, awesome, an amazing opportunity.
Rare, awesome, amazing opportunity. But everyone wants to get out. It's such an amazing experience, guys, right? It's so fun, so cool, so hip, man.
It's like being handed the most precious gift in the universe.
The most precious gift in the universe? What? Help me here, help me here. Then he says this.
As you know from that side, there are only so many, man. Like, there's only so many. And being human is like, oh my gosh, like really, like holy. And the irony, of course, is that all of us here, so many of us just want to get out.
All that. It's such a special, amazing experience. The human experience is special. But we all want to get out. That's the irony.
You know, we're like, we're done with this. But I'm telling you, this is a gift. Every one of these wonderful people listening today, and I gotta say, like,
it's a gift. It's a gift, guys. It's a gift.
Energy that I'm getting from all these people. Holy cow, you guys are awesome. Every one of us has been given a gift to come here and to do our part, to live. And when I say do our part, I don't want to say like we came to do this task. You know, we like to think in duality, like, okay, I'm going to do this action. It's more about being you, the real you, the loving, joyful you in your life, where you are. Just do that. Just be you. Be the real you. And as you do that, we will bring love to the world. Because love is what we are. We are loving beings. We're not twisted, fearful beings. We do get temporarily twisted up in the many pains of this life. We do get abused, and we do suffer, and we get sick, and eventually our bodies even die. You know.
But it's so cool, man. It's an awesome experience. And Junko says it's right. Yeah, it's so great that I can reincarnate in Africa and be a starving child. I will say, most of us here are extremely, extremely lucky that we have access to the information that we do in the time period that we are here, right? Most of us are okay. We're fed. We have a home. We're okay. But imagine if you grew up in North Korea. Oh, it's such an amazing experience. It was oh my God, I love growing up under a dictatorship. Yes, where my every movement is recorded and taken down, and if not, then I get to go to a wonderful work camp, a re-education camp. Come on, hello. It's not, it's just, again, I could talk about this till the cows come home.
So it's super crazy, but that is not who we really are. So you're allowed, you have permission, not from me, just because of who you are, not from anybody. You have permission to not take the play so seriously.
Well, that's true, and that's where I'm at. I don't take any of it seriously. I've been at the point for a while now where I just do not give a shit about anything going on. I do not watch anything going on in the play in relation, politics, all this crap. I barely even watch YouTube videos anymore. I do here and there, but I'm just, the biggest answer in Revelation is figuring this out about the soul matrix, reincarnation, soul trap. That is the linchpin and the king of all information you can learn here. There's nothing more important. Everything else is distraction. Yeah, you can go and have a good laugh at Joe Biden falling up the stairs on the plane or whatever. But you can laugh at Trump or whatever. But it's like that's just you gotta laugh at the clown show. You really do gotta laugh and not take it seriously. But at the same time, No more excuses. No more excuses or Stockholm Syndrome. No more. It's over.
You can be yourself. Have fun. It's fun. Make it fun.
Yes, we must honk ourselves to salvation. I love it.
Enjoy what you want to enjoy. Let go of what you want to let go of. Be the person that you feel you should be. And you know what? That's not easy. I'm like not a master at this or something. Like I'm just another flawed individual trudging my way through the muck. But if we choose to meet this day, this moment with openness, it's very powerful. That small stuff is the big stuff. You know, that's something that guides tell us a lot. The little things are the big things.
Mm-hmm.
That is where the power is. So you don't have to worry about solving a huge crisis and fixing the whole world and making all your money and all that stuff. Just meet this moment, this day, best you can. That's it. Have fun. Love the person next to you. Love yourself.
Yes.
That is important. You do gotta love yourself, and you do got to, you have to do what's best, because it can't. I mean, we have to still take care of ourselves and make sure that we're keeping ourselves in line as best we can. The truth is very hard to stomach. Yes, it is. But you will, I promise you, for anyone new who's kind of coming into this information recently, there is an acceptance period where you just have to laugh at it all. And it really is important to love yourself. It really is, because it makes your experience, your prison time here, better. Okay? There's no doubt about it. And I talked about it many times on the channel here, that doing affirmations are really important if you need them. If you're having a rough go at it right now, do affirmations 20 minutes in the morning, maybe while you're taking a shower or having your coffee. And then there's also mindfulness alarm. You can set your alarm for every 45 minutes, half hour, to go off throughout the entire day. And every time that alarm goes off, you stop everything that you're doing, and for 1 minute you just close your eyes and do some meditative breathing in and out, just to collect yourself. Okay? And I'm telling you, those two things are extremely helpful. So if you're finding times difficult, if you're on a downward spiral, I promise those two things can help you immensely, and they require very minimal effort. You're not going to have to go and get pills shoved down your throat or anything like that. But I'm not saying don't do that if you're really bad. But again, I'm not going to advocate for that shit either. So but there are easy methods that take very little time out of your day to make things a little better for you. And I think it's really important, if you're going through a rough patch, that affirmations, check out Jason Stevenson's YouTube page. He has great affirmations, and he helped me through some dark times years back. And when I need them, I bring them out again. But and then the mindfulness alarm, every half hour, 45 minutes, or hour. And as soon as you get up, put that alarm on and keep it repeating until you go to bed. And then once you go to bed, shut it off, rinse and repeat the next day. In about 3-4 days, you'll start feeling better, maybe even the first day. And then within a few weeks, you'll be much better. So I promise, give it a shot. And if you're in that dark spot, just give it a try, because this is dark shit. It really is. But it's the truth. Do you want the truth, or do you want to be pat on the head and say, oh, okay, go read the Bible, go read the Quran, and you'll be fine. Go to the priest. And what the Junko said earlier, yeah, there are truths in the Bible, sure, but there's truths in all these sacred text. So it's, to me, it's, yeah, there's truth. There's truth in everything if you can find it, and you know how to read between the lines and discern the information. But it's all about, as I said earlier, about the big picture, because you have to take information from all different areas to really create the big picture, and look at the patterns, look at the trends, and then piece it together based also on your experience here and what you are seeing going on. It's not, it's nothing that happens overnight, but if you're looking at all different types of information and you piece it together, you'll probably get to the conclusion that I'm at. And I'm telling you, there's things I know and there's things I don't know, but I know what I know, if that makes sense. And I know that this place we live in is a reincarnation soul trap matrix. That I know. So, I promise. If you're new to the topic, just keep digging, keep digging, keep digging, keep digging, and eventually, you'll see what you'll come to the same conclusion.
What's your fears? That's a big one.
When you so you were saying how being here is such a gift, and so when you told your guides that you decided you wanted to try to come to Earth, was there, like, what determined whether or not or when you were able to go? Was there, like you said, these spots are difficult to come by?
So in my case, I actually did not remember specifically asking for Earth. I just asked for a life to fulfill my intentions, and they brought me this human life. I don't even know if my last incarnation was human. I don't know. I just know that that knowing that it was a human life here and seeing my parents, who would be, I had so much respect for them. It was incredible the amount of respect I had for those players. I'm calling them players, but see, the thing is, okay, so I'm seeing them from that side as the mother and father. Those are their characters. I respected them, like the player who is the character, because the player, the soul, is who you really are.
Yeah.
And from their side, that, and you respect that the soul is playing as this certain character, and it's such.
Yeah, I might respect them, but I feel bad for them, especially if I'm looking down and not in a body yet.
Such an admirable thing to be seen from the other side, looking at a human life. It's just incredible.
So April was asking, and I think April, what he meant was, you're asking why are the guides on Earth outnumber the non-guide people? I think he was saying that the guides that are helping the people on Earth outnumber the people on Earth.
I just meant that, I meant non-physical beings that are participating in the Earth play outnumber the physical human players.
Although we're aware that there are many guides on Earth right now to help with the ascension. So I think that's why that.
Yes, all the guides are here to help with the ascension. New Age. Wah, 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 wah. The alarm should be going off in your head right now. Woo, woo. All it is New Age. Ascension is a hot word, a key word, trigger word to suck you in. And, I'm not talking junk about her, but, again, we know what we know. And, yeah, there is some truth to ascension, and that's liberation. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. Nothing else will substitute that, but pure liberation and freedom from any interference. Nothing more.
It's a little ambiguous.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, it's amazing to think about then the perspective that you bring, because I think that all of us are everybody that's here in this group has had their own different experiences of spirituality and that, from all different aspects. But what's amazing is, like I said, to hear this first person recount of what you've seen and felt and had the real experience of, to have a first person description is just mind bending.
Junko just asked, so they're talking about ghosts. No, they were talking about, he was talking about when he was looking down at, when he was, I think, choosing his parents and had, respect and admiration and blah, 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 for the player. I mean, he calls them players, which is interesting. Yeah, so he was talking about looking down at his family, pre-birth, I would imagine.
I actually find it, I appreciate that, but I don't feel that way, because I actually find it a little bit comical that everybody doesn't remember, because it is a little bit, it's it's just a little bit funny. It's a little bit funny because it's not, we all will remember. No, it's not that remarkable.
Yeah. So Shauna's asking that she has a lot of clients that really struggle to have a baby, and she has, and her belief is that there's a lineup of souls waiting to be human, but why is it so hard for them? And she's wondering what else she can do to help the people who are, because she tries to help them raise their vibration, and she's wondering what else you can do to help them.
Okay, well, the first half of that question is why. So, okay, so the goal of, oh boy, the words are really hard here. The physical reality operates according to its rules, its laws, so biological laws included. Okay, so then spirit knows the laws and looks in on the system. Like, okay, imagine you program a video game like the World of Warcraft or something, and you've got stuff going on in the game, and certain things happen, certain things can't happen, and you just work with what you can, because the game is how it is. Except in this case, the game kind of is evolving and going on its own. But anyway, so there's these constraints that are applying to us, including things that may prevent people from having children or health problems or whatever else. And there's also a bunch of non-physical activities happening. There's a lot of manifestation happening. There's intention. There's a lot of probabilities being bumped and nudged all over the place. Some people might have fear of not having a child, and then they, maybe push away the probability of having a child. And there's a lot of that stuff going on, and I can't possibly speak to all that. But so I'm just saying, for the first part of the question, some of it is just the way the physical reality plays out. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's just how the body works sometimes. But as to what they can do, boy, I mean, my sister struggled with this. I have a lot of respect for women who go through that. I feel like as a male, it's impossible for me to actually feel what a woman feels that can't have a child. I know how deep it is in them. And I'm actually chuckling because I've told my wife many times that I kind of wish I could have a baby, because I remember being female. But anyway, I would say that so all the things in this life that we experience, there's a lot of needs that the human has. Need for food, need for reproduction, need for security, need for whatever, so money and love, physical, all those things that we think we need. We do feel fear when we don't get that stuff. If someone tells you you're not going to have your food anymore, most people are going to feel fear. And not being able to have a baby is pretty similar, actually, I think, in the sense that we are hardwired to do that. So just as a general comment, then, when we have fear that's linked to something that is wired into what we are as humans, I think it's important that I know this sounds so simple and trite and oversimplified, but we need to accept. Because it's the resistance that hurts. And typically when we resist, we're not helping ourselves. Typically when we resist, we're making it difficult, we're pushing things away. And it's the deepest intent that is nudging the probabilities. So a lot of people might say, okay, I really want to have a baby, so now I'm going to tell myself I don't want to have a baby so that I can have a baby. But really your deepest intent is you still really want. So what you have to do is work with your own fears. I know it's a very broad comment. Find the fears, if you feel an inadequacy pop up, meet it. Feel why do I feel that way? And then as you feel that, allow yourself to feel it. Allow yourself to find what is the negative self-belief I'm holding on to here, and be brave enough to work with it. And if you get to the root, that might help.
Yeah, I think he's pretty right on that. I think it kind of boils down to intention to some degree, or it's not in your life script. I don't know. We're getting close to the end. We got like another 6-7 minutes, and then I'll take a brief look at the chat and then wrap it up. But I just want to let you know this part really didn't have much to do with the conversation, but as you can tell, this guy's story is just really, really crazy, really mind-blowing, because it paints such a clear picture in my eyes about just the level of manipulation that he was subjected to just to get him back in a body here on Earth.
Yeah, and so I know the question was about like a lineup of souls. It's not like they're, I don't want to say, my perception was not like they're pushing in line and please make this baby be available. It's not like that at all. Like I said, the system is operating, and then as there are opportunities, they are happily utilized.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's not the mother's fault. I mean, in my case, it was my fault. It's still my fault. I don't even know who that person was, but I know I'm responsible, even now. And you know what I mean? So it had nothing to do with the poor mom. She probably, you know what I mean? She didn't know there was a spirit coming from another dimension that like had fear issues, you know?
So she was asking, she's wondering about is Earth the only 3D reality? And is this Earth the most beautiful place in the universe?
Okay, so I'm going to say no, this is not the only 3D reality. So first of all, we have our whole universe, and it has many opportunities within it, not just Earth. Okay? We like to think of other planets as other, no. Our whole universe is one place. There's other planets, there's a whole system, it's big, billions and billions and billions of stars. Okay? That's one system. And I have some awareness that there are other systems. And I don't know anything about those systems, but they're there. So there are many opportunities, both in our reality system and I believe others as well. And as to whether Earth is the most beautiful, my opinion, because it's all subjective, is no. I feel that there is greater beauty in higher realms. The beauty of the higher realms is unspeakable. So I'm not saying Earth isn't beautiful. It has beauty.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't say it's the most beautiful experience of form possible.
Sounds like that green grass was awfully beautiful.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, if anybody else has any other questions, go ahead and ask them now. But I think this has been, for me, this has just been so incredible. Your story, as soon as I heard it, I couldn't wait to have you come in and share it with us. Because I feel like it's stuff that we all know about, we read about, we learn about it from various sources, but you are the first person I met that can stand there and tell me from first person experience what you're not from a regression. And because I know that a lot of people go through past life regression, which is amazing. Like Wendy was talking about in the comments, she leads past life regressions. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it was your actual lived memory, which is just amazing. So that's such a gift to have you share that with us. And it's wonderful. I think it's wonderfully encouraging because it's such a confirmation of all the things that we feel and that we suspect and that we intellectually know, but that we don't have direct experience of anymore in terms of our memory.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a really weird place because on one hand, it's extremely personal and it's also impossible to articulate. And also I feel like it's such a small amount of memory. Who am I? I'm not a near-death experiencer. I'm just some guy. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I really feel that the awakening, as we're using, is happening. And we do need to talk to each other, and we are allowed to test this. It's not like the veil is like you get a moral imperative not to play. We're here to play.
Yeah.
So I'll take the risk. I'm just deciding to take the risk and put myself out there a little bit and say, we're not human. You're not human. You're you.
Okay, I think I'm probably going to leave the testimony there because it's the rest of it's really nothing. Just them like wrapping up and acknowledging the chat and stuff like that. But yeah, Lamek, I suggest rewinding and listening to the beginning. How you asked, how does this dude remember before birth? I don't. Yeah, I agree. There are some cases where these people do claim that they remember, and with the whole, I think this guy is being very genuine. I do. I think he's misguided because of earthly traps when he got here, obviously, and you'll see me kind of rip through that a little bit throughout the video if you rewind. But yeah, I mean, I think some people have the capability of remembering certain things, and this guy basically talks about how he went through like a school to get his, to have a veil over him, and he didn't want to come back and this and that, but he was tricked by these entities to that he had this mission, and if he wanted to become like this entity, godlike entity, then this is the path to go on. I mean, it really fits in with a lot of stuff that we've talked about personally, bro. So I really suggest giving it a listen if you want. I mean, then again, we already kind of know, as we've discussed 1,000 times, the most important things here. So it's up to you, man. Yeah, so yeah, if you guys popped in late, I would suggest listening to the replay, because it really, in my opinion, paints a very clear picture as to what's going on here. It's just more to throw on the fire to the Matrix reincarnation soul trap. That's how I'm looking at it. So yeah, highly suggest rewinding if you got in here late. But yeah, I think I'll probably, well, see, like Junko says, misguided or new age controlled agent. I don't think he's a agent. I don't, but by pushing the standard new age stuff, he is by proxy in a way, right? But I don't feel he's coming to the table with an agenda himself. You know what I'm saying? I just don't get that feeling. It's not like he's, I just don't see that. But it doesn't matter, because he's pushing the whole love thing and all this other stuff that I talked about earlier and went over exhaustively. So no, I don't sense he's an agent, but when you're getting this type of information said to you about that, things that link into new age type of commentary or thinking, then yeah, I mean, he's doing the bidding of the system without even knowing. That's because he's fallen into that trap. But that, I don't think that by any means takes away from his testimony about the pre-birth memories, because it for me, it rings a lot of truth. So that's just my opinion, though. All right, guys, this has been a long stream, almost 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. I had a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed the video and kind of saw what I was trying to point out. And yeah, I think that's it. So much love and blessings to you all. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. And again, if you popped in late, really suggest rewinding and listening to at least probably the first hour and 20 minutes. I think that's the bulk of the testimony and commentary, where I go over his actual experience. But he does drop some nuggets related to the memories later on too. So it's up to you. It's a long one. I know it's tough to sit through this type of video, but give it a shot if you came in late. I think it'll pay off. All right. Much love, peace, blessings, all that stuff. And I will see you soon. Have a great day.